Have you ever considered what makes something alive? It's a question as old as human curiosity itself, and one that continues to puzzle us even in this age of scientific enlightenment. Life, as we know it, is not a concept that's easily defined. It's not a black and white matter but rather a spectrum of gray. When we think about life, we tend to think about humans, animals, and plants. But what about viruses, or crystals that grow and replicate, or AI robots that can learn and adapt to their environment? Are they alive? And if not, why not? To answer these questions, scientists have developed several characteristics that help differentiate living organisms from non-living things. These aren't arbitrary rules, but rather guidelines that have been observed in all known forms of life on Earth. First and foremost, all living organisms are made of cells. This is the basic unit of life, and it's where all the magic happens. From the simplest bacteria to the most complex humans, all life forms are cellular. Secondly, living organisms have metabolism. They take in nutrients, convert them into energy, and excrete waste products. This is a constant process, essential for the survival and growth of the organism. Next, living beings maintain homeostasis. They keep a stable internal environment, no matter the external conditions. This is why you sweat when it's hot or shiver when it's cold. Also, living organisms grow, reproduce, and pass on their genes. They don't remain static but change and evolve over time. Lastly, living organisms respond to stimuli. They can sense changes in their environment and react accordingly. This is how you know to pull your hand away when you touch something hot. But remember, these characteristics are not boxes to be checked off. They're more like overlapping circles in a Venn diagram, with life existing in the intersection. So, as we embark on this journey to understand what truly constitutes life, remember that it's not a simple question with a straightforward answer. It's a complex puzzle that scientists are still trying to piece together. To truly understand what life is, we need to delve into these characteristics. One of the most fundamental characteristics of life is cellular organization. Now, what does that mean? Well, simply put, all living things, from the smallest bacteria to the largest blue whale, are composed of one or more cells. These cells are often referred to as the basic units of life. Why is that? Well, each cell is a bustling metropolis of activity, carrying out the functions necessary for life. Whether it's an amoeba, a single-celled organism navigating its environment, or a neuron in your brain firing off signals, each cell is a marvel of complexity and precision. In multicellular organisms like us humans, cells don't just exist in isolation. They group together, forming tissues, organs, and organ systems, each with a specific function. From the heart pumping blood to the lungs exchanging oxygen and carbon dioxide, it's all a symphony of cellular organization. As we can see, without cells, life as we know it would not exist. Moving on, another vital characteristic of life is metabolism. At its core, metabolism is the process by which living organisms convert food and other substances into energy and building blocks necessary for life. Picture it as a complex, intricate network of chemical reactions that takes place within our bodies every second of every day. All living organisms, from the smallest bacteria to the largest whales, must consume energy to survive and grow. This energy consumption is the sum of two processes: anabolism, where energy is used to construct components of cells such as proteins and nucleic acids, and catabolism, where organic matter is broken down to harness energy. These processes work hand in hand, forming a cycle that allows for growth, reproduction, repair, and maintenance of structures within the organism. They also enable the organism to respond and adapt to their environment. In essence, metabolism is the engine that drives life. Now, let's explore the concept of homeostasis. A truly fascinating aspect of life, homeostasis refers to the ability of an organism to maintain a consistent internal environment, despite the ever-changing external conditions. It's like your body's very own thermostat, working around the clock to keep everything balanced and in check. Imagine a hot summer day. Your body sweats to cool down, ensuring your internal temperature doesn't skyrocket. That's your homeostasis at work. It's also the reason why you shiver in cold weather, as your body tries to generate heat and maintain its normal temperature. Homeostasis doesn't just regulate temperature though. It keeps a steady balance of water, salts, and sugars in our cells, controls blood pressure, and ensures our bodies have the right amount of oxygen and nutrients. All these factors are vital for survival, making homeostasis an integral part of life. So, homeostasis is what keeps us stable and functioning no matter what the world throws at us. Another key aspect of life is the capacity for growth, reproduction, and heredity. All living organisms, from the smallest bacteria to the towering redwoods, share these fundamental processes. They grow, they reproduce, and they pass on their traits to the next generation through heredity. Let's delve into these aspects a little more. Growth is a fascinating process. It's not just about getting bigger. For an organism to grow, cells must divide and multiply. This process is powered by metabolism, which we discussed earlier. Beyond just increasing in size, growth also involves differentiation, where cells specialize into different types to perform various functions. This is how a single fertilized egg can develop into a complex organism with countless cells performing a myriad of functions. Moving on to reproduction, this is the process through which life perpetuates itself. Organisms reproduce to pass on their genes to the next generation. There are two main types of reproduction: sexual and asexual. Asexual reproduction involves a single parent and usually results in offspring identical to the parent. Organisms like bacteria, yeast, and even some plants reproduce asexually. Sexual reproduction, on the other hand, involves two parents. Each parent contributes half of the genetic material to create a unique offspring. This genetic shuffling introduces variation, which is vital for evolution. Lastly, we have heredity. This is the process by which traits are passed from parents to offspring. These traits are encoded in genes, which are segments of DNA. Each gene carries the instructions for a specific trait. When organisms reproduce, these genes are copied and passed on to the offspring. This is why children resemble their parents but are not exact copies. These processes, growth, reproduction, and heredity, are integral to life. They allow species to adapt to changing environments, evolve over time, and carry on the legacy of their ancestors. They are the mechanisms that have shaped the incredible diversity of life we see around us. These processes, growth, reproduction, and heredity, ensure the survival of species. The ability to respond to stimuli is another fundamental characteristic of life. Let's dive into this fascinating trait, shall we? All living organisms, from the simplest single-celled amoeba to the most complex human being, constantly interact with their environment. This interaction is largely facilitated by their ability to respond to different stimuli. These stimuli can be anything: light, sound, heat, cold, chemicals, and even other organisms. For instance, think about how a plant turns its leaves towards the sun, or how a human pulls their hand away from a hot stove. These are prime examples of organisms responding to stimuli. Why is this response so crucial, you may ask? Simply put, it helps organisms survive and adapt. By reacting to changes in their environment, organisms can shield themselves from harm, locate food and mates, and generally navigate the world more effectively. Responding to stimuli, in essence, is how life interacts with the world. To conclude, life is a complex, multifaceted phenomenon. It's an intricate dance of processes and systems, all working together to create what we know and recognize as life. As we've delved into in this video, all living things share certain attributes that set them apart from the non-living. Firstly, all living things exhibit cellular organization. They are made up of one or more cells, which are the basic units of life. Each cell is an amazing world in itself, bustling with activity and filled with the machinery needed for life's processes. Secondly, every living thing displays metabolism. This is the set of chemical reactions that happen in living organisms to maintain life. It's like a constant invisible dance that fuels growth, reproduction, response to environment, and all the other aspects of life. Thirdly, life is characterized by homeostasis. This is the ability of an organism to maintain a constant internal environment, despite changes in the external environment. It's like an inbuilt thermostat that keeps everything in balance. Next, we have growth, reproduction, and heredity. All living things grow and reproduce. Heredity is the mechanism by which traits are passed on from one generation to the next. It's the thread that connects us to our ancestors and will connect us to our descendants. Lastly, all living things respond to stimuli. This means they can react to changes in their environment. It could be as simple as a plant bending towards light, or as complex as a human responding to a piece of music. Understanding these characteristics helps us appreciate the intricacy and beauty of life. They underscore the complexity of life's processes and remind us of the delicate balance that sustains life on our planet. By studying and understanding these characteristics, we are better equipped to appreciate the wonder of life and perhaps play a part in preserving and nurturing it for future generations.